If you've ever wondered whether or not voting matters, look no further than Ocoee, Florida in 1920, the site of the single bloodiest day in modern American political history. And pay attention, because Florida's educational standards won't allow their teachers to tell this whole story. I'm Garrison Hayes, and this is Town on Fire. In the fall of 1920, black folks in Ocoee, Florida, just outside of Orlando, were sick and tired of being sick and tired. They'd been governed by the KKK-aligned Southern Democrats for generations and knew they were due for some change. That's when black community leaders started registering record numbers of African-American residents throughout the area to exercise their constitutional right to vote. They believed that if they had a say in who was elected, things would change. But 3 weeks before Election Day, things in the community start to get tense. The KKK issues a warning declaring that, quote, not a single Negro would be permitted to vote. But these black folks weren't deterred, and when they got to the polls on November 2nd, white supremacists were there waiting for them. Moses Norman and Julius Perry, successful and influential black businessmen in Ocoee, were two of the many who were turned away from voting that day. And when the polls closed, an angry white mob of over 100 men went looking for them. They kidnapped Julius Perry, drove him to Orlando, and lynched him for defying the white supremacist social order. By the end of the night, dozens of black citizens would be killed, and countless homes and at least 2 churches would be burned to the ground. All because these defiant black folks dared to vote. The Ocoee Massacre would kill or displace the entire black community in Ocoee, more than 500 people, turning this black enclave into an all-white town for more than 40 years. Multiple generations of black families lost their homes, land, businesses, and opportunities to build generational wealth as Ocoee became a sundown town, a place where black people weren't permitted after dark. It wasn't until 2019 that city leaders would listen to community members and formally acknowledge the massacre. And while I'm not surprised that it took them nearly 100 years to do so, it is surprising that county records show that less than 20% of eligible voters turned out in a recent election. Voting matters because our ancestors bled and literally died for our right to do so. If voting didn't matter, the people in power wouldn't have worked so hard in the past and today to keep black people from voting. This is Town on Fire, a 5-part series about the history of lost black economies and the lessons they can teach us today.